If I woke up tomorrow and found myself 55 years old again, knowing everything I know now, there are several things I would do immediately. Not next year. Not someday. Not when retirement gets closer. Immediately. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most retirement mistakes don't happen at 65. They happen years before retirement even begins. And by the time people realize they've made them, it's often too late to fully recover. I've seen hardworking Americans spend decades saving money, only to discover they were preparing for retirement the wrong way. I've seen people delay important decisions that later cost them thousands of dollars. And I've seen others enter retirement with far less stress. Not because they were richer, but because they prepared differently. If I were 55 today, I'd follow a specific roadmap. A roadmap designed to protect my future, reduce uncertainty, and create options later in life. And there's one step near the end of this video that I believe is more important than almost everything else. Most people never think about it, but it often determines whether retirement feels like freedom or fear. Let's begin. If I were 55 today, the first thing I'd do is change my mindset. Because many people see 55 as comfortably distant from retirement. They think, I still have time. I'll figure it out later. I'll get serious next year. But retirement isn't an event. It's a transition, and transitions require preparation. Think about it this way. If you're planning a cross-country road trip, you don't wait until the day before departure to check your vehicle. You prepare in advance. Retirement works exactly the same way. Age 55 is often the final decade where you still have significant control over your financial future. The decisions you make now can dramatically influence the next 30 years of your life. And that's why I'd treat 55 as a wake-up call, not a warning, an opportunity. One of the biggest mistakes people make is assuming they'll somehow know when they're ready to retire. But hope is not a plan. If I were 55 today, I'd sit down and answer one critical question. How much money do I actually need? Not what my neighbor needs. Not what some article suggests. What do I need? Because retirement isn't about reaching a magic number. It's about funding a lifestyle. Think about your future. Where will you live? Will you travel? Will you help children or grandchildren? Will you maintain your current lifestyle? Many Americans discover they've been saving blindly. They know they're saving, but they don't know what they're saving for. And that uncertainty creates anxiety. The moment you identify your actual target, everything changes. Because now you're moving toward a destination, not wandering in a direction. Because one day it might. Most people spend years obsessing over their retirement accounts. Yet they neglect the asset that makes retirement possible. Their health. Imagine having millions of dollars saved, but lacking the energy, mobility, or wellness to enjoy any of it. Retirement isn't just about financial freedom. It's about physical freedom. If I were 55 today, I'd focus on daily walking, strength training, better sleep, preventative checkups, managing stress, healthy eating, because every healthy year gained during retirement is worth more than many people realize. And here's something surprising. The healthiest retirees often end up financially stronger too. Why? Because poor health can become incredibly expensive. Healthcare costs, prescription medications, unexpected treatments, long-term care. The healthier you remain, the more options you keep. This may not sound exciting, but it could completely transform retirement. If I were 55 today, I'd declare war on unnecessary debt. Credit cards, high-interest loans, consumer debt, because debt becomes heavier as income becomes more fixed. During your working years, income can grow. In retirement, that's often not the case. Every dollar going toward interest is a dollar that can't support your future lifestyle. Imagine entering retirement with no credit card balances, no unnecessary loans, minimal financial obligations. How different would life feel? How much less stress would you carry? Financial freedom isn't only about what you earn, it's about what you owe. This is where many Americans leave money on the table, not intentionally, simply because they don't understand the decisions available to them. If I were 55 today, I'd begin learning now, not at 62, not at 65. Now, because Social Security decisions can affect income for decades, and many people underestimate how powerful timing can be. The choice isn't always obvious. The right answer varies depending on health, goals, work plans, and family circumstances. The important thing is preparation. The more informed you are before retirement arrives, the fewer surprises you'll face later. And speaking of surprises, the next step is something many retirees wish they'd done much sooner. Here's a question. What happens if your retirement plan depends entirely on one income source? For many people, that's exactly the situation. One check, one account, One source. That can create vulnerability. If I were 55 today, I'd start exploring additional income opportunities. Not because I necessarily need them, because I want options. Options create confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Maybe it's consulting. Maybe it's freelancing. Maybe it's a small business. Maybe it's a passion project that generates income. The goal isn't working forever. The goal is flexibility. Retirement feels very different when earning money becomes a choice rather than a necessity. This topic doesn't get enough attention. Scammers know something. Older Americans often have savings, and wherever money exists, predators appear. If I were 55 today, I'd become extremely cautious because financial scams are becoming more sophisticated every year. Fraudulent calls, fake investments, online scams, identity theft, promises of guaranteed returns. The truth? If something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. Protecting wealth is just as important as building it. Sometimes the smartest investment isn't making more money. It's avoiding losing what you've already earned. Ask retirees about their biggest regrets, and you'll hear something surprising. Many don't say, "I wish I'd bought a bigger house. I wish I'd worked more. I wish I'd accumulated more stuff." Instead, many wish they had spent more time with people they loved, more time with family, more experiences, more meaningful moments. Here's why this matters. At 55, time becomes increasingly valuable. You start realizing that retirement planning isn't only about money. It's about life. Because eventually, every retirement account serves one purpose: supporting meaningful experiences. The people who seem happiest in retirement often understand this. They build lives, not just portfolios. If I were 55 today, here's exactly what I'd do over the next 30 days. First, calculate where I stand financially. No guessing, no assumptions, facts. Second, create a retirement spending estimate. Third, review all debt. Fourth, schedule health screenings. Fifth, learn about Social Security options. Sixth, identify one additional income opportunity. Seventh, update important documents and beneficiaries. Eighth, create a written retirement plan. Not a mental plan, a written one. Because goals become real when they're written down. And written plans create accountability. If I were 55 today, I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't obsess over mistakes. And I certainly wouldn't compare myself to others. I'd focus on what I can control. Because retirement success isn't determined by one perfect decision. It's determined by hundreds of small decisions made consistently over time. The good news, if you're 55 today, you still have time. Time to prepare. Time to adjust. Time to improve. Time to build the future you want. And remember this, retirement isn't about having the most money. It's about having the freedom to live life on your terms. The choices you make today can help create that freedom tomorrow. So start now, because your future self is counting on the decisions you make today.